The other thing that a lot of people forget, it's not about showing off your pet. You can show off your animal, absolutely. It's about the people that you're affecting. That's why you do this. If you're doing animal therapy work to make your pet famous, it may or may not happen, but that's not the goal. You're missing out on the heart part of the therapy work. The therapy work, here's a perfect story for this. My very first therapy visit 14 years ago, had a beagle. We went to an assisted living facility that had a memory care unit, which is Alzheimer's. We walked into this dark living room, lady sitting there by herself. They had just stuck her in front of the TV. Blinds were closed. I mean, it was dark. It was really dreary and depressing. So I took the beagle. She, of course, wasn't responding. Echo, come here, sit. Let's show them what we do. And I just did. He doesn't like his ears touched as much. Pulled his ears up on the other beagle, okay? The lady smiled, just like he did. The lady smiled. I'm thinking, okay, cool. We go on, we go down the hall. Nurse comes out and gets me. The woman had not reacted to family, food, TV, music, noise, doctors, nothing in months. She reacted to me holding up the ears on the dog. The dog sat, dog did nothing. That's what it's about. It's the fact that I made that lady have a good moment. She won't remember it, but her family's gonna hear about it and they're gonna remember it forever. That's what the pet therapy is about. Canine assistants will bring their dogs in training around to facilities to do animal therapy work as well. And once in a while, the Humane Society will bring a group of puppies to a nursing home, or to an assisted living, not to a nursing home, to an assisted living just to ease the tension on the day. For the most part, the organized animal therapy groups, it's your own pet because you really have to know the animal before you get in some of those situations. PTSD dogs are on the rise to be paired up with vets for that very reason, just the calming nature that they're finding. There are studies out there, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but they are. And they're really starting, the medical world is really starting to pay attention. As a matter of fact, I have a physical in February, and I'm gonna ask my doctor if I can bring him, because the 45-minute wait in the waiting room and then the 30-minute wait in the doctor's office, my blood pressure's through the roof, because I don't wait very well. You can ask Margaret. I'm wondering if I bring the dog in, and I know, like, in day-to-day life, he takes my stress away. You know, if I'm having a bad day, I come home, hug on the dog, things are much better. You do North Fulton, the hospital. There's a rehab center up in Gwinnett, it's Joan Glancy. They have everything from kids to seniors. We've done work with kids with physical disabilities. We'll go to a special needs classroom and we'll take the child who can't move his arm very well. We'll take him aside and he'll brush the dog.
What about walking? Is there anything that you do that kind of influence those to walk the dog or something?
Yeah, we do. I don't personally do anything to that extent, but what we typically do for a situation like that is we'll actually put a second leash on the dog. And I usually, because I do this with kids who want to just walk the dog, I will clip a second leash to his leash, not to his collar. I keep the leash attached to the dog. So I've got control of the dog. So when they go that way, I can still pull him back here. Or when they drop the leash because the ball just went by, somebody still has the dog. They do, people in a walker will have a leash attached to a dog, and I'd be standing here and somebody in a walker here, and the person in the walker carries the leash with them, because it's, you know, it's not a big deal to hold a leash while you're holding a walker. But they're walking the dog and they're telling the dog to heel, so the dog is not pulling in 40 directions, the dog is staying right here. So in essence, they're walking the dog, and that's their motivation to keep going. Okay, therapy animal registration, we're gonna get into the fun part that you guys are probably waiting for, the training and stuff like that, and the testing. There are several local, national, and internationally recognized animal therapy groups out there. The main responsibility of a legitimate group, they're going to test the handler and the animal to make sure that the animal meets a minimum obedience level. Of course, more advanced is better. Echo and I are a team. Oliver and Margaret are a team. We're in a group that visits with teams of teams. Echo and Oliver have done visits together. There are also groups out there where Echo and I go by ourselves, or Margaret and Oliver go by themselves. So depending on what that group does, they're going to train you as the handler how to deal with those situations. And then the other big thing that's really cool, insurance coverage. The groups, once they register your animal, they'll provide a minimum amount of insurance coverage if something happens on a visit, so it doesn't fall back on you. Your pet is your property, okay? If something happens, if Oliver scratches somebody, if Echo bites somebody, if a piece of furniture gets broken, my property has caused damage to somebody else's property, so that somebody else can come after me. Because we're registered with a therapy group, if we're doing a visit with that therapy group, their coverage, their insurance will cover what my insurance won't. So if I have, let's say I have a $2,000 max on my homeowner's insurance or car insurance that I would, because I don't have $2,000, if they're suing me for $5 million, once I hit my maximum, that other insurance from that group will kick in and cover it. That's technical and not fun stuff, but I thought I'd mention it. But they do provide insurance, and a lot of facilities want to know if you have insurance. That's a huge thing. I take him to my church, and every time we go, I have to resubmit his registration paperwork and his liability insurance paperwork for the group. Otherwise, he's not allowed in.
And there's a group bill for you or something? They send you out
you re-register every year, and you pay
asking you if the places you go pay for your
insurance.
services.
Health insurance pay for the visits?
Not to us. This is, so far I haven't figured out how to get paid to do this. I just renewed our other group's membership, and I didn't know this, but I'm online filling in our paperwork. Boom, a test pops up. Are you kidding me? It's nothing hard. Once you've been doing animal therapy, it's common sense stuff. You know, if there's a broken pipe in the corner, do you take your animal into the flow of water? No, but I guess some people say yes. But that was their way. It's the other group that we're in is TD Inc., and it's a national. Actually, it's technically international because they go up into Canada. But that's their way of testing members across the country without holding massive seminars that people may or may not show up to. So I answered my 10 questions. You know, what do you take on your visits with you? ID, and here's his little ID here. Copy of his registration card, which I have. A copy of our liability insurance, a copy of a shot record. You know, a lot of places are going to want to see that an animal's up to date on their shots, which that's fine. Most groups will ask you to renew that anyway. Though you have to submit that when you send in your renewal. Most organizations are going to do a combination test of the handler-animal team. Obedience is required, but also how you, as a handler, interact with your animal. And with the other people around you. If you're rude and nasty, nobody's going to want to play with you. They're not going to let you in. And that's just, you know, you're not in this to be rude and nasty. You're in this to be nice and loving and giving. Tests are often built around the basic experiences a team is going to come across on different types of visits. Oh, he's shivering. Well, you're laying on the floor, Goofy. The Canine Good Citizen test, which you guys, that's what you guys train all the dogs for. That's your goal, right? That's usually the minimum that therapy groups are looking for. Beyond that, they look into temperament, and reactions to animals. And that's going to pop up on the next slide. We walked into a group of people, and we would do a figure eight. We would follow somebody as a figure eight. Somebody would reach in and grab him. Somebody would open an umbrella in his face. Somebody dropped a pizza or cookie sheet on the concrete so it made a loud noise. Somebody's wearing a hat. We had those New Year's party blower noise makers. Yes. He doesn't like umbrellas. It's the comeback. He does not, still to this day, you open an umbrella, he dives under the couch, but he'll come back. That's what you're looking for. You don't want them so freaked out they're running out the door. They're allowed to react. They're animals. They're going to react. It's not a normal, it's not every day somebody comes up and opens an umbrella in your face. No, that doesn't, she doesn't have anything for you. And here we are, advanced obedience, CGC, 200 therapy visits later, so well behaved. But this is okay, not during the test. This is not okay during the test, but in a therapy animal situation, this is fine. I mean, I'm barely holding his leash. He's still under control. If I had to, I could snatch him back in a heartbeat. He's not being crazy. He's not, you know, if I threw the treats across the room, he'd be crazy. But they don't have to be so super mellow either, that they're just lumps. Ellen's dog, we know a lady who was very worried because every time she told her dog to sit, he just lay down. And it's like, well, I'm not the tester. I can't tell you if that's acceptable or not. Apparently it was because he passed. So we have the chaos station, the separation. You guys do that in the CGC, right? Leave the dog with somebody else, yep. That's got real world applications. If I have to go and sign in somewhere.
You had to go to the restroom.
I had to go to the restroom. Technically, he was in a room by himself, so that's okay. If we didn't have that separation there, I would have asked Margaret to hold him. And he has to be okay with me being away for 3 minutes. And surprisingly, he was. I was a mess because they stuck me in a little tiny bathroom in August with no air, and I'm nervous. But he passed that part. So it's also the willingness to obey the handler in an unfamiliar environment. Echo, come. Good boy. Sit. And scooch right under the table. So, you know, at home, he probably would not have come. He would have been like, yeah, really. Don't need to worry about that. But here, he's obeying to a certain point. And I'm not going to ask him to do anything he's absolutely not comfortable with. If something is frightening to him, I'm not going to make him go and face that giant. That's just not going to happen. So it is their reaction, and you want them to be able to come back to you. We go to a behavioral rehab facility, and you walk into the women's side of that, and it's women, and I can say this, they're crazy. Because they're puppies and kitties, and it's like, oh, the babies! And you can have 20 women flock at once. And they've got to be okay with that kind of situation. You can absolutely pull them out, and I do say, ladies, we need to stand back, let the dogs come in. We're going to put the cat over there in that corner. You can absolutely do that as the handler, because that's going back to being an advocate for your pet. You know, he's my priority, making sure he's okay, because if he's not okay, we can't do that visit anymore. And that's not the point. Let's see. Reactions to unfamiliar objects is evaluated. We talked about this. Wheelchairs, that's a whole new ball game for a lot of animals. He's still very leery about the electric wheelchairs. It's one thing to see somebody doing this. It's one thing for furniture just to move.
He's worried about